You have a uniform. I have a shawl. We come from the same place. There are a bunch of pigs in this compartment. Filth, the sweat, the stink. Open the window for all of us.
They won't open the window.
They, always they. But you can. You can open the window for a woman who knows your position.
I saw a woman, her legs, and she had these big black eyes. The devil got into me. I opened the door and I said, please. She got in. I drove off. Where to? She doesn't say. I don't ask.
What about me? Colonel, can you take my handcuffs off too?
How do I know you're not dangerous? Are you a student?
I'm a student of life.
Ha! So you're a poet then. Only a poet would speak such foolishness. You stay tied up. They'll stop you from writing lies you don't have to listen to.
Who listens to the poets anymore? He's harmless. I'll swear for him. But if you're afraid, just leave him as he is.
I'm not afraid. I just don't want to be irritated. You remind me of another one. I used to drive taxi. One day down the square, a woman got in, black coat, big black eyes in the rearview mirror. Where to, I asked. She doesn't say. I could tell she was a pasha's wife. I asked again. She didn't say. So I stopped the car under a nice plane tree. Not one soul in sight. I lay her on the ground. Still not a word. Even when I'm kissing her, she's like a statue. Well, we finished our business, get back into the taxi. Like before, she doesn't say anything. So I drop her at a food stand. Pasha's wife.
Did she say yes?
Who asked you to speak? I've lived my life, but you've done nothing. I don't need anyone to tell me yes.
Open the window. It stinks of pig.
Where do the demons go at night, riding with the horses under the moon? Their clothes look like ours, but they draw their swords and attack. The demons got in my belly. I know I'll die.
Yes, yes. You would think that. I was wounded fighting for my country, and they put me in a pigsty. That's what they used for a hospital, for the soldiers. And now this, prison? When I was in the hospital, I begged for the doctor, let me die in a bed with springs. Stay in the mud, he says. Guess they wanted a bed for someone they still had hope for.
I have wounds. I have pain. I'm not hope.
You, the two of you with your wounds and your pain. You know nothing. Nothing. Get up now. Open the windows.
The Germans will win. This Hitler. They say he's a heathen, but I heard from up high, he's really a Muslim. Thank God we're Muslims. The man will respect us.
Awful, the desire to die in a bed with springs. Fear is stupid. We should all get off this train. Why are we letting it take us where it wants?
Who can fight them?
Who can fight them?
Boss, they told me they have no food. But in the dining room, I see 6 Germans, red faces, asses fat, sitting down, eating spaghetti. They look at me and laugh. One man puts his plate down for his dog, right on the floor.
What did you do?
What did I do? Even the German's dog was eating spaghetti. I ran over, snatched the plate from the dog, and ran away, pushing it in my mouth, so if they caught me, at least I got something.
Did you bring some for us?
You're just prisoners. You're supposed to be hungry. Hey, boss, why are they untied?
I suppose they laughed at you. Yes, you gave them quite a show, acting like a dog.
Death is God's will, but not hunger. Hunger can make men less than dogs. You brought nothing for us? Your countrymen?
Did you bring anything for me? Go back, get me something.
Where? The counter is closed. They said they have no food.
That's your problem. Find something for me. For all of us. And don't come back until you do. And you have them. I took your handcuffs off. I let you sit down.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
No, don't.
God!
No, please don't do this. Don't shoot. Get back to your seat.
Restrain him!
Wait, you can't.
And if he resists, shoot him! When you go out, close the door tight. Knock before you come back in.
It's this way. I stand in the advancing light, my hands hungry, the world beautiful. My eyes can't get enough of the trees. They're so hopeful, so green. A sunny road runs through the mulberries. I'm at the window of the prison infirmary. I can't smell the medicines. Carnations must be blooming nearby. It's this way. Being captured is beside the point. The point is not to surrender.
Okay, it's time to move on to the winners of our poetry competition this year. Before we begin, I'd like to say that we had over 200 submissions this year, and that basically is 600 or so poems, which is a magnanimous job to read and judge. So the poems went through several stages of judging. The first committee, the pre-selection committee or readers, a very strong committee formed by my friend Richard. And then the final judges were Rachel Richardson. She's teaching at University of San Francisco. Erdal Göknar, who has been an organizer before, is a poet, and of course the translator of Turkish literature into English, including Orhan Pamuk's My Name is Red. And Greg Dowse, who's a professor at NC State of Foreign Literatures. I just want to say one thing about Greg, which is very important. Greg was one of the friends I contacted when we started the festival. And I knew him from the Faculty Senate. We had both served on the Faculty Senate together. And I knew that he loved Nazım, his poetry, and I knew that he taught, actually, Nazım in his classes. So as soon as I contacted Greg was like, sure, I'll do it. And he's the only judge who served 10 consecutive years on the judging committee. So this is his 10th year. So with that, I think we can go ahead and start the poetry. Pelin will introduce the honorable mentions, and then we'll move on to one more thing. I'm really proud to say that this competition, its spread is much more than North Carolina now. Half of our winners are coming from other states. and one of them is from Sri Lanka. Of course, some of those, or most of those, Laura, are you here? Okay. Laura came from California, right? So thank you. But the others couldn't make it, and so we requested their videos reading their poems, so you'll see them.
Our first honorable mention is Chris Abate. I hope I told his last name correct. Chris Abate's poetry has appeared in Comstock Reviews, Timberline Review, and Chaglin River Review, among other journals. He has been nominated for the Pushcart Prize and the Best of the Net Award, and was an honorable mention in the 2013 Nazım Hikmet Poetry Competition. Chris's first book of poetry, Talk About God, was published in 2017 by Main Street Rag. Chris works as a database programmer for a pharmaceutical company in Raleigh. He leads a local monthly poetry workshop, and he has served as a lead coach for the first T-Gold program since 2009. Originally from Hartford, Connecticut, Chris resides in Holy Spring with his wife. Please welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be back here. I always circle this date on my calendar. This is what makes this area so special as this festival. So thank you to everybody for all your work in organizing this. As I was looking over my poems, I don't really think I need any introduction for any of them. They're all very ordinary. So I will read them. My first poem is called Batting Cage. Each time he swung and missed, it was as if his father had died suddenly again, his body unwound in a posture of spent effort. And the times he connected, the sting of the bat in his spleen, was some recompense for every year he had stayed home to care for his mother. But there was something feeble about the violence of his hits, his loosened chin, the ache in his arms. The ball slackening into the netting as if to say it had been hit harder by more imposing men, fatherless men too, before falling to the batting cage floor and gazing back at him with its red stitched smirk. This poem's about living in a neighborhood, which is the reason we moved. My wife and I moved to North Carolina so we could have a nice new house. But the houses are like this far apart. And it makes good neighbors. It's like the Robert Frost poem about fences. This is called Neighborhood Men. Neighborhood men talk in driveways over the hoods of SUVs. They talk as if they need a piece of steel between them. They talk in cliches, spit consonants, curse like car engines starting. They stop their lawnmowers to talk, fold themselves over to pull a stray weed. They talk about the thing they just bought, how much they saved. They like to compare their stuff to your stuff. Explain why you need the stuff they have. Neighborhood men talk like tools in the garage, potential energy. They talk about what they will do someday when they have the time. They talk about tomorrow or next week. They say we should to each other, as in going out for a beer or playing golf some Saturday. But until then, they will hang like shovels in perfect rows. They will be reliable and stiff. They will wake up, get dressed, and drive to work. And at the end of the day, they will pull into the driveway, go inside, turn on the news, and ponder the hard lines of houses and yards and sidewalks. The ones the neighborhood seemed to draw around them when they weren't paying attention. They will think of ways to bend the lines into a shape they can describe. The shape of diligence, of winches and chainsaws, and trees they used to climb. One that resembles the question their wives are always asking. The shape of contentment, a thought that vanishes somewhere between the alarm clock and the shower. A shape they could fall in love with if only it had a name. Again, thank you so much, all the organizers, the ATANC, the town of Cary. It's fantastic to be here today. Thank you. This poem is called Killing the Fish. A fish in my tank is dying of old age of all things, which makes this one unique. Having lived 6 years, her underside sunken in now, her body blemished, things like tattered flags of surrender. I want to save her a shred of dignity, as dignified as a net and toilet can be, but she eludes me, whips her delicate blue body and slips between stacks of slate. The others will sense her weakness and will pick at her without mercy. I know I have endured high school, job layoffs, and family divorce. I have seen how some of us eat each other, first the hands and arms, then the stomach, and finally the eyes. The next morning, the fish wills herself to the surface for food, her miraculous little jaw still hinging open and closed. She seems lost in some aqueous eternity, a flow she keeps secret. She is at the center of the universe, as much as anything else, as much as me. And who's to say each of us isn't, as if we knew where the center was? Later, I slide the net toward her again, but she escapes. This is as good as it gets, she seems to say, and I am hard-pressed to explain her grit. God, let me be like that. Thank you.
Our next honorable mention is Jan Arthur. She works in MBA admissions at North Carolina State University and is the owner of Jan Arthur Photography. Born and raised in Stuart, Florida, she graduated with an BA in English from Palm Beach Atlantic University and an MBA from Rollins College. Her work has appeared in Living Waters Review. She lives in Raleigh with her husband and daughter.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen, and I'm really disappointed that I can't be there for the festival. I would love to get to hear the other poets read and get to meet everyone, but since I can't be there, I was asked to send in a recording of one of my poems, so I'm going to be reading Mother's Day. If you had walked the woods with me on Mother's Day, you'd have seen millions of dandelion seeds floating in the air like dust or cotton or feathers, so many. It was as if the whole world had been wishing their mothers back from the grave, back from dementia, wishing they had called home even once more, wishing they could crawl back inside their mothers like nesting dolls. Then I remembered Cheryl Strayed wrote about swallowing some of her mother's ashes, and I don't blame her for this. The tiny pebbles of bone sliding down her throat, gravelly dust settling in the lines of her palms, wishing and keeping her mother the only way she could. Thanks so much. Enjoy the festival, and I hope to see you next year.
up in northeastern Pennsylvania, where she developed a close affinity for nature that continues to influence her writing. She received a PhD in classical studies from Duke University and later earned an MA in English from North Carolina State University. Jill lives on the edge of the Blue Ridge Mountains in upstate South Carolina and teaches English at Spartanburg Methodist College. Jill was awarded the Hopsey Emery's Prize in Poetry in 2015 and again in 2017. Her poems have appeared in Blue Line, Advocate, Main Street, Rag, The Independent Weekly, Raleigh Review, and elsewhere.
I'm Jill Coyle, and I'm reading my poem, Metal, Wood, Leather. My father kept his axe in leather, the metal blade in a leather case, stiff, worn, and cracked. It had snap to snap it shut, tight, snug. Kept the metal bright, clean, and strong, polished and scoured by the hearts of logs he split. In autumn, the thwack and crack echoed through bare trees, filled the spaces between thin trunks, the way footsteps echo through wooden pews in a cathedral. When he halved a log, often the two pieces stood silent a moment, still connected by smooth, pale strands like sinews, until the two sides parted. When he finished, we threw the logs onto a pile together. My small hands in his leather gloves, I loved the hollow sound of timber, a smaller log meeting a larger, crosswise and sliding until it hit a niche and stuck there.
Maximilian Heineck's poems have appeared in the Cortland Review, Tar River Poetry, Columbia Poetry Review, December Magazine, and Crab Creek Review, among others. He lives in Medford, Massachusetts, where he has taught English in the public schools for 20 years. He is also a singer, songwriter, and adapter of classical poems, and his records can be heard at maxheineck.com.
Hi, North Carolina. Thanks for having me. My name is Max Heineck. I'm an English teacher in Medford, Massachusetts. This is my poem called Easter Afternoon. When my wife slid the daunting needle into her childless sister's side, we kept our ease quiet. Now their trinity ranges loud across the yard, and it's a blessed stretch to walk their youngest toward the egg, barely hidden in gold at the feet of Jesus. The 2-foot concrete statue they found face down, lifted, and now treat as auspicious. If there was no hunt, faith would still take some finding. Behind the wetland, more a swamp beside a coop, the foxes emptied one layer at a time. In the shell of my own miracle, I stand by the sun in the same bodhisattva pose, hand open, the symbolic heart pinned on his robe, and the cross, victorious standard. But his right arm is broken in the pine needles. I take what's left of his hand, but I carry the cherub's basket and protect her forgotten boon of candy, plastic. She targets the miniature castle, and her instant siege succeeds. The sweetest clutch. In unseasonable heat, the garden's fake owl scares the fruit thieves from theirs. But the North Shore tomatoes now grow until November. Denials as ubiquitous as rebirth. The grass a deep green overnight. For us, long summers and longer falls. But when we've shaded the earth, who'll move the boulder? And after Good Harbor, the boy cuts us cucumbers with a butter knife. And my butter's lovely, bare-kneed in April, musing whose birth is fairest. Any, safely delivered. My brother-in-law tells me when his is caught in brambles, how the Germans joyed at dawn, but still set the children's gems in nettles. She plucks them off, so eager each capture feels the first. No tears at the sight of thorns.
Every year we get to publish our festival book after the festival. But this year, we were able to receive articles on time, and all the winners were so helpful. They reviewed their work and all that. Bottom line, we do have the book. If you want to read the poems and winners' bios, and there are also 4 articles about Nazım Hikmet's poetry, it will be outside during the break. It's not time for a break yet though. We will continue with the poetry readings of the winners after the break. Right now, Birgül is gonna come. If you remember, we switched the schedule a little bit. I want to invite Birgül.
Lots of times we receive a question from our friends and poets, why Nazım? And I also heard the comments during the presentation right before the film that we screened over the weekend. No, I don't know Nazım. When I mentioned that, probably all know Nazım. So we decided to give a little bit of background of his life as a human, his academic side, his poetry, all that will be covered by the experts today. But I just would like to provide a bit of piece from his life, as short as possible, although it could be written in several books, which in fact was written. So his life ended on June 3rd of 1963 in Moscow. It was said that of broken heart. By now, we all know in this room that he was very well-known poet. I'm not gonna claim that he was a Turkish poet only, but he was internationally renowned for his dedication to the common good, humanity. And his art was not for art's sake, but for humanity. He said that, I want to write poems that would talk only about me and address just one other person and call out to millions. I want to write poems that talk of a single apple, of the plow earth, of the psyche of someone getting out of prison, of the struggle of the masses for a better life, of one man's heartbreaks. I want to write about fearing and fearing death. Although his ideas are about all social injustice, socialist ideas, communist ideas, some says that romantic communist, romantic revolutionary. Did you know that he was coming from a very well-known, high level of Ottoman family? He himself was from an aristocratic background. He was born as Mehmet Nazım on January 15, 1902. Actually, he was born a couple of months back in November, but his family decided not to mess with the years, so they registered him for birthday as January 15. He was born in Selanika. At that time, that city was part of the Ottoman Empire. It was the birthplace of so much revolutionary thought in Turkey. In fact, Kemal Atatürk, founder of the Turkish Republic, was born in the same city. His father was a government official in the Foreign Service, and his mother, Cemile Hanım, a painter of Polish descent. Both her grandfathers were commanders in the Ottoman army, with revolution and adventure running through their life stories. It's so ironic that his grandfather was such a rebellion person during the Polish Civil War, and his grandson also ended up with social injustice poetry and also being a representative for the world peace. His grandfather, Nazım Pasha, also wrote poetry, and Hikmet began writing poems during his school years. it's important to know, what we are looking at here is that his family pictures, Jamila, his mother Jamila Hanım with the hat, and when he was